rig locked around my arms before I could even set my feet properly, and the whole room went silent in a way that made my skin prickle. I am Clara Whitfield, the only human standing on this training floor, and every eye in the room, human and alien alike, was fixed on me like I was about to fail in front of all of them. Instructor Korvash had just said 5 words that would change everything. Lift what you can. Simple words. Except nothing about this moment was simple. I looked at the glowing chart behind him, the one showing every species ranked by strength, every number carefully measured and confirmed. Humans were not even on it. There had never been enough data to bother. I asked him one question before my hands touched the bar. Do you mean their limit or mine? He tilted his head, confused, and told me to stop wasting time and begin. So I did. The bar was cold under my palms, humming faintly as the machine powered up behind me. My heart was already pounding, not from fear, but from something sharper, something that felt like standing at the edge of a cliff and knowing you were about to jump anyway. 200 kilograms rose easily. A few cadets in the front row exchanged glances, unimpressed. That was expected. That was safe. That was the number every textbook said a human could handle without strain. I kept pulling. 400 kilograms. My arms burned, but I did not stop. This was supposed to be the wall. The number every scientist had written down as our ceiling. The room shifted, quiet turning into something tighter, more alert. Korvash stepped closer, his 4 eyes rotating one at a time, studying me like I was a puzzle that refused to behave the way the manual said it should. 600 kilograms. Someone in the back row stood up so fast their chair scraped loudly against the floor. That number belonged to a species built for exactly this kind of task. A species with reinforced limbs and thick bone structure. Not to us. Not to me. But I was still holding on. My hands were shaking now, sweat sliding down my back, my breath coming in short, sharp pulls. Every part of my body screamed at me to release the bar, to stop, to accept the safe number and walk away with dignity intact. I did not let go. 800 kilograms. The machine behind me groaned, servos straining under a weight it had never been asked to measure before. A low alarm began to blink on its side panel. A warning meant for equipment failure, not for me. Korvash's voice cut through the silence, sharp and urgent. Cadet Whitfield, this is beyond safe limits. Release the bar immediately. I heard him. I understood every word. And still my fingers tightened around the metal instead of loosening. Because somewhere in that moment, I stopped thinking about numbers on a chart and started thinking about every person who ever told me what I was capable of before I had the chance to find out myself. Every teacher, every doctor, every well-meaning voice that said, stop here, this is enough, do not push further. Nobody had ever asked what would happen if we simply kept going. 900 kilograms. My vision narrowed until the only thing that existed was the bar, my hands, and the fire running up both arms into my shoulders. Somewhere behind me, I heard fast whispers in a language I did not understand, urgent and clipped, like officials debating whether to intervene. I did not look back. I could not afford to. 1,000 kilograms. The alarm on the machine turned from a blink into a steady red glow, and the entire room seemed to hold its breath at once. Even the 2 cadets who had been whispering to each other since the session began had gone completely silent, staring like they had forgotten how to do anything else. Korvash moved toward the control panel, his hand hovering over the emergency shutdown switch, but he did not press it. Not yet. He was waiting, watching, maybe as curious as everyone else about where this would end. I felt my legs trembling now too, my whole body straining to keep me upright, while my arms held weight that should have been impossible for anyone built like me. Every fiber inside me wanted to quit. Quitting would have been so easy. Quitting would have been forgiven. Nobody in that room expected me to go this far in the first place. But there was a difference between what a chart says and what a person can actually do when they decide not to stop. 1,040 kilograms. My grip failed at last, not because I chose to release it, but because my body simply could not hold on any longer. The bar dropped into its rest with a loud metallic crash that echoed across the entire training floor like a thunderclap, and for a moment, nobody moved at all. I stood there swaying, arms hanging uselessly at my sides, chest heaving, sweat dripping onto the floor beneath me. My legs barely held my weight, but somehow, I remained standing, refusing to fall even now. Korvash walked slowly toward the display screen, his 4 eyes fixed on the number glowing there, a number the chart had never been designed to show. The system had to redraw its own scale just to fit it onto the graph, stretching far past every other species listed before it. 1,040 kilograms, he read aloud, his voice quieter than I had ever heard it. Achieved before muscular failure. The equipment itself had not yet reached its mechanical limit. I noticed, I said, still catching my breath, still trying to steady the shaking in my hands. He turned to face the room, and for the first time since I had met him, he looked genuinely unsettled, like something he believed deeply had just been proven wrong in front of dozens of witnesses. You asked me a question before this exercise began, he said. Their limit, or mine. I did not understand the difference at the time. I understand it now, he continued, his voice steady but slower than before. Every number on this chart was built from what a species was expected to achieve, not what they were capable of if they refused to stop. A young cadet near the front, a girl named Priya, raised her hand hesitantly and asked the question everyone else seemed too afraid to voice. What is her actual limit then? Korvash looked at me for a long moment before answering. I do not think we found it today, he said. I think we only found the point where her body stopped her, not the point where her will did. The room stayed silent after that, no laughter, no whispers, nothing but the quiet hum of the machine cooling down behind me and the sound of my own breathing slowly returning to normal. I walked off the training floor on legs that still trembled, my arms aching in a way that would likely last for days, but I felt something else beneath the exhaustion, something steady and warm. Pride, maybe. Or something close to it. Outside the training hall, a boy named Daniel caught up with me, his expression somewhere between shock and disbelief. He had transferred from another unit only a week earlier and had never seen anything like what just happened. How did you do that? He asked, his voice quick with excitement. Nobody has ever pushed a rig that far before, not even the strongest recruits from any other unit. I shrugged, still catching my breath. Nobody ever asked us to try before, I said. We were always told where to stop before we had the chance to find out otherwise. He shook his head slowly, still processing what he had witnessed. That number is going to be in every training report by tomorrow morning, he said. They will have to rewrite the entire scale. Maybe they should, I said. Maybe it was wrong from the very beginning. We walked together down the corridor, the lights humming softly overhead, cadets from other units glancing our way, as word of what happened spread faster than either of us expected. By the time we reached the end of the hallway, at least a dozen people had already heard some version of the story, each one slightly more exaggerated than the last. A woman named Fiona stopped us near the entrance, her arms crossed, her expression skeptical. Is it true you broke the entire scale today? She asked, one eyebrow raised in clear disbelief. I did not break anything, I said. I just kept going until my own body decided the exercise was finished. She studied me for a moment longer, before a small smile crossed her face. That might be the most dangerous kind of person to have in this program, she said. One who does not know where to stop until she gets there herself. I laughed, despite the ache still running through my arms. Maybe that is exactly the kind of person this program needs, I said. That night, lying in my quarters with my arms wrapped in cooling patches to ease the swelling, I stared at the ceiling and thought about the look on Korvash's face when the number kept climbing higher than anyone expected. I thought about every assumption written into that chart, every quiet limitation placed there by people who had never once been tested past their comfort. I thought about Priya's question and Korvash's answer. I think we only found the point where her body stopped her, not the point where her will did. Maybe that was the real lesson today, not the number itself, but the idea behind it. Limits written on paper are just guesses until someone decides to test them properly, and sometimes, the only way to learn the truth is to keep going long after everyone else expects you to stop. Somewhere down the hallway, I could still hear cadets talking about the session, their voices carrying fragments of disbelief and curiosity through the thin walls. Tomorrow there would be new questions, new tests, maybe even a redesigned chart with my name attached to a number nobody had predicted. But tonight, I simply closed my eyes, my arms aching, my mind quiet for the first time all day, and let myself rest, knowing that tomorrow, the entire training program would look at every recruit a little differently than they had this morning.